Hello, my lovely friend. Today I have a very cute, very spooky crochet pattern for you. Now, I originally made these to be coasters, but then I decided I wanted something bigger. So you can do this on any weight yarn, and basically you can do whatever you want. So if you want coasters, if you want things a little bit smaller, you can make it with fingering weight or crochet thread. If you want it a little bit thicker, you can go up in weight. I'm using a DK weight here, and I'm going to make something a little bit bigger, maybe to set a candle on, because I think they're just too cute. Now, I have noticed that I've made a couple of these, and I've made one with plant fiber, which is like a linen blend, and I made one with wool, and I made one with acrylic. I didn't really like the acrylic one that much because you can't really block it. And this is something that needs to be blocked. So here I'm using a wool. This is my colorway Hot Cheetos, and I've had this in my scraps for a little while, and I finally found an opportunity to use it. So if you're wanting to jump in and make this with me, we'll go ahead and get started. So to get started, you're going to need any yarn, and this is more than enough for what I'm going to be making. And then you'll need a crochet hook that's on the bigger side of the recommended needle size. So if your yarn band only has one needle size recommended, just go up maybe 2. So the recommended needle size for DK weight is generally anywhere from 3.75 to 4.25. So I'm going to go up to the highest one. So we're going to start by making a magic ring. If you've never made a magic ring before, you just lay it over your hand like so. Put your little fingers out like that, hold it here, wrap around, and then cross over. And then I like to take my fingers and hold it just like that. So I have a cross here. So you're going to go under this one. You're going to grab that yarn here, pull it, twist, and then take it and hold it with your fingers. My nails are not dirty, I promise. This is just dye. I know they look filthy. All right, so I've got my magic ring. Now I'm going to pull. You'll notice that if you pull this, that it tightens that ring up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fingers like so. So I've kind of stuck it in over my ring finger, or my middle finger here on the left, and I'm pinching that thread end, the yarn end here that tightens it, with my ring finger. So it's a little awkward, but I promise it's okay. You're going to get through it. This is the hardest part. And then we're going to chain 1, chain 2. So that's going to count as our first double crochet. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to double crochet in the loop, in that little magic ring. And we're going to do that 11 times. So we're going to have a total of 12 in here. So that's my second one. My third. Fourth. So as you're working, you're going to notice that sometimes this has a tendency to get a little bit more stretched out. Just pull that to reposition it. There's a dog barking in the distance, and Johnny has a lot to say about it. Okay, so we've got our stitches worked in here. I've got 11 double crochets, and I've got my chain 2 to start. So I'm going to take this tail, and I'm just going to kind of pull it through that loop so it's free on the outside, just like that. And then I'm going to cinch it. So I'm going to pull and then cinch it closed. And then just put it off to the back or the front, whichever way it wants to go peacefully. Then I'm going to find my chain. So my chain stitches were here, and I'm going to slip into that chain stitch, the very second one. All right, so now we've got our foundation set up. So now I'm going to chain 1, 2, and then I'm going to chain 2 more. 1, 2. So that acts as our first double crochet and then our chain 2. So now I'm going to double crochet into that next stitch. And then I'm going to chain 2. Then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. And then I'm going to chain 2. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And by the time I get back around to the beginning, I should have 12 of these little spokes. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're back at the beginning here. I'm going to chain my last 2. And now what I want to do is I want to slip stitch into that second chain. So there's my first one. There's my second. So I'm going to slip stitch into that second chain. And that's our row 2 completed. Now this will come loose a little as you're working. That's fine. You can just keep tugging at it, or you can leave it alone until we get to the end. So now we're going to slip stitch into this chain space. So we have our chain 2 space here. We're going to slip stitch right into it. And then I'm going to chain 2. That's going to count as our first double crochet. If you want to do a standing double crochet, I can show you how to do that real quick. So if you want to do a standing, you're going to pull up, and you've got about the height of a double crochet here. Take your needle, turn it like so, to where now that's wrapped around. Pinch, hold it right here, hold the stitch with your pointer. Go back into that space, pull up a loop, pull through. Now you've got 3 little looping threads here. Yarn over, pull through 2, let go, pull it a little bit tight, yarn over, pull through 2, and now you have a standing double crochet. Now you can do the standing double, or you can chain 2. So now that we're done with that, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to double crochet into the next chain space. So we're going here into the chain 2 space, and we're going to place a double. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do that all the way around. So placing a double crochet in that chain space and chaining 3. Now the fun thing about this is that you can make it as big or as small as you want, but I found that about 7 or 8 repeats of this really starts to make it look like a spider web. So I'm going to keep going around and I'll see you when I come back. All right, so I'm at the end here. I've chained 3 to end my row. Now I'm going to join into that double crochet, that standing double. And the great thing about doing the standing double crochet, it's easier to join. So I just have to go under that stitch like that to join in. So I highly encourage you to do it that way instead of the chain 2. Plus it looks cleaner, in my opinion. All right, so that was our row 3. For the next row, we're going to slip into that chain 3 space. Just going to pop a slip stitch in there. And then we're going to do our standing double or our chain 2 again, your choice. So I'm going to do a standing double crochet. So if you ever get lost in this and you're like, oh my gosh, what row am I on? Count from the center. So here's row 1, row 2, row 3. So the chains here that we put will always align with what row you're on. So we're on we are on row 4. So I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to double crochet in that chain 3 space, chain 4. Double crochet in the chain 3 space, chain 4. I'm going to do that all the way around. So if you are here because of the Facebook post for the giveaway, the secret word that you're looking for is waterfall. So follow the instructions in the Facebook post for what to do with that word. If you don't follow me on Facebook and you're watching this video and you want to be involved in the giveaway, go ahead and head over to the Mountaintop Yarn Facebook page, join in, and then follow the instructions for what to do with that special word. All right, now I'm continuing to go around almost to the beginning. And if you ever get confused, you don't know where you're at in the row, because it can start to, I think I might have been off frame. Let me move the camera a little bit because it's a little tilted away. There we go. All right, so if you're ever confused and you're like, oh my gosh, where's the beginning of the row? You have 2 options. You can use a stitch marker or you can just count. So 1, 2, 3. We know we still need to work another here. I find it's easier to count than to have to manage a stitch marker. But that's my personal preference. If a stitch marker is better for you, then by all means, pop one in. All right, so I'm at the beginning of the row again. I have my double crochet here. I've got my chain 4 that I just finished with, and I'm just going to slip right into the top of that double crochet that I created, the standing double crochet. All right, so that's row 4. Let's look what we have so far. So you can see how cute it's going to be. And it looks a little smushed up right now. And here's where your choice of fiber, your choice of what you're working with really comes into play. So wool is very pliable. So what's going to happen is when I wet this and then I put it on the blocking board and I can stretch it out like that. That looks much more like a spider web, right? Than that. Now, if you're using acrylic and you wet the acrylic and you put it on the blocking board and you stretch it out like that, 9 times out of 10, when you take it off the blocking board, it's just going to go back to its regular shape. But with wool, the fibers have a memory. So when I wet this and I block it and I stretch this out like this and let it dry, what's going to happen is that it will stay just like that until I wash it again. All right, let's continue. We're going to slip stitch into this chain space. So this is our chain 4 chain space. And then we're going to do our double. Now, if you drop it like I did, don't worry. Just go behind like that. Pull it tight. And then finish off up here. Now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to skip this chain space because we're already working in that one. It can be a little confusing because it's so close to the edge. And then we're going to go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to double crochet in that chain space and basically just do this all the way around. So the only difference between all these rows is that we're just adding more chains. Oh, got too carried away. Started going so fast. All right, so in theory, you could just keep going around, but that would produce a very different look. I know you're probably thinking it because I was thinking it too when I started doing this. That's going to produce a very different look, so it'll be more spiral. This is more, you know, layers of circles on each other, which is more spiderweb-like. Okay, we're almost to the beginning here, so I just need one more. And then I'm going to slip stitch into that standing double crochet here that I have. If I can get into it. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. For the most part, it is easy though. It's much easier than getting into a chain. All right. So let's see what size we have. So you can stretch it out and kind of get a feel for what size it's going to be when you block it out. So I think I want mine just a little bit bigger than that. So let's do another row. Slip stitch into the chain space. And then we're going to do our standing double crochet or our chain 2, whichever makes you happy. And then we're going to do chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Double crochet into that chain space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to keep going around just like this, and I'll see you back at the beginning of the round. All right, so I'm back at the beginning of the round here. I've got my chain 6 that I just finished off with, and I've got my standing double right here. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that standing double crochet. And there we go. All right, let's look and see what it looks like now that we've done one more row. That's pretty cute. I like the square too, but I also like the weird shapes because I think the weird shapes kind of just lend to a spider web just a little bit better. So I might block it weirdly, but I do like the square as well. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. So I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm good to go. I think that'd be perfect for my smaller little candles that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and snap the yarn here and pull that through and weave these ends in. So let me go get scissors and a needle. All right, I've got my scissors and my needle, so I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to pull through. And you're probably thinking, how the heck are you going to weave anything in? It's just a bunch of chain stitches, and that's a good question, and one I don't know the answer to. But we're going to figure it out together. Get in there. Okay. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just go back in through that double crochet and just secure that a little bit more than it is already. And then I'm just going to get things in where I can fit it in. So I'm just going to go under whatever loops I see. And I'm on the back of the work right now, and I can tell because this thread's coming out right here. So I'm just going to go in those loops. And this doesn't have to be super duper secure because this isn't a wearable, so it's not going to get a lot of jostling and all that jazz. And the great thing about if you're using wool, is that wool kind of adheres to itself. So all these little fibers in here will lock together when you start doing this, weaving in these ends, and it'll be harder to get this apart than, let's say, if you used acrylic. If you're using acrylic or any sort of plastic wool or plastic yarn like that, it's more slippy, so it's going to come undone a little bit easier. But wool is very grippy. So that's more than enough that I've created here. I'm going to trim that, put that over for the tiny scrap bin, and then we're going to cinch this up in the middle. So what I want to do is find out which way this is coming from, so you can see that's the natural way it's coming from. Because if I pull it this way, you can see there's like a slight bend in the yarn, so I know if I pull it this way and it lays flat, it's coming from this direction. So I'm just going to pinch and pull so that's nice and tight in the middle, and then I'm going to start going under in the direction that it's going in. So it's going in a clockwise direction, so I'm going to go around in a clockwise and then just cinch it off, and you'll see that it just pulls together so nicely. Then when I get halfway through, I'm going to backtrack and go back the opposite direction. There we go. And that's enough. It's no big deal. I think we're fine. All right, there we go. So we've got us a nice little spider web. So let's go ahead and soak this. I'm going to go get a bowl with some water in it. I'm going to show you how to block it out. So I've just got a little pot here that I've used for dyeing yarn. And because I did dye this yarn, whenever I put it in a container, I don't really like mixing my craft stuff with my food stuff. So I'm just going to use this thing that I've already used for yarn and dyeing. I'm just going to drop that in there like so. The water is just cool water. It's not scalding hot. So it's just cool enough, maybe like room temperature or maybe a little colder. And I'm just going to submerge it a little bit and let it float there. So I'm going to let that soak for probably about 30 minutes just to make sure that it's nice and, you know, saturated. I'm going to see you back when it's done soaking. Okay, so I just filmed like a whole bunch of stuff and realized that my camera decided upon its own volition to change the orientation. So I was filming in portrait mode instead of landscape. So I had my piece here in the water, so I picked it up and I gently wrung it out. I didn't squeeze too hard, just enough to get most of the water out. Then I moved my pot over, and I had a little towel here, and I unfolded the towel a bit, and then I took this, gently placed it on that towel, spread it out, and then I rolled the towel up like so. And then once I had it rolled up a bit of the ways, I just squeezed the roll. So that's going to get the majority of the water out. It's still going to be damp, so I'm unrolling here, and it's still pretty damp, but it's not sopping wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this, set that off to the side. And I've got this blocking board here. I can't remember where I got this one, but I don't like it all that much. But it's functional, so I keep it. So the reason I don't like it is because the holes are not consistently sized. And so the little metal pegs that come with it, sometimes it's really hard to get them in the hole and sometimes it's not. So take that for what you will. That's my beef with this particular board. So I have 4 pegs here. I'm going to start with that and see what I like. So I'm going to lay this on the board. I'm going to take one of my pegs and I'm just going to place it, like let's say up here. It's just a guessing game at this point. And then I'm going to go to the opposite side and stretch it out to where I want it and place a peg there. And then I'm going to go up here. I always go to make it a square. And I'm going to place a peg here. See what I mean by it's hard to get in? And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to place a peg there. So I kind of want to make it a square, but I'm going to try to avoid doing that. So let's see if we can pull one up here like that. So now I'm going to grab another peg and I'm just going to keep doing this until I get a shape that I'm happy with. So let's see. I think I want one down here too. Do I? Yeah. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just goofing with it. Just goof with it until you find a shape that you like. It's a spider web, so you don't have to have it symmetrical in any way, shape, or form. I didn't like that too much, so I'm going to take that one out. I like that flat part right there. I think that's cool. What about over here? No? I think that's fine. I think I'm happy with that. I think I'm trying to improve upon it, and I think it's perfect. So that's my perfect spider web shape. Let me see if I've got it in the whole frame. Yes. So that's my perfect spider web shape. Yours might end up different than mine, which is fine. You might like a more symmetrical. You might like it to be square. You might like it to be round. But I like that it looks like a spider web to me. All right, so now I'm just going to leave this to dry. If you want it to dry a little bit quicker, then just pull up to where it hangs above the board, if you have a board like mine. And then I'm gonna go sit this out on the patio and let the fresh air get to it, and that should dry it up a little bit quicker. And then when I'm done, I'll show you what it looks like when I have it placed in my little pumpkin patch area of the house. So here it is. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. You see how it keeps the shape? I mean, it's not all the way there, but it still keeps the shape that I generally put it in after I blocked it, and that's wool. So wool will do that. Now I just put my little candle. I'm not gonna put the brand name on there. I just put my little vampire blood candle right there. And now I've got my spooky area. It's coming along. I need some more decorations for over here. So if you have any ideas of what more I could make to put over here, drop them in the comment section below. I'd love to see it. If you liked this video and you were able to make a cute little crochet spider web thing, then give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment. YouTube will pay me if you guys interact with these. And then the more you interact, the more people see them, and the more people can interact, and I get paid by YouTube. So for doing a free pattern, I think that's not a lot to ask, right? All right, guys, till next time, bye.